We have some breaking news here on a Monday as Steelers recently signed cornerback Cam Sutton has now been suspended by the National Football League for the first 8 games of the 2024 season. Today we're going to be breaking down the news, what this means for the Steelers, breaking down the games that the Steelers will be missing Sutton, and then also some replacements that could be the Steelers' slot cornerback for Week 1 of the 2024 NFL season. But this is why you subscribe to the channel, guys. Breaking news coverage every time the Steelers have news or make a move or whatever the case may be, if they still trade for a receiver, whatever the case may be before training camp, we're going to have you guys covered right here on the channel. And then when training camp gets here, we're going to have daily coverage, letting you guys know who's doing well, who's moving up the depth chart, all that great stuff. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now and join our family. Let's get to the report here from Mike Garafolo, who says, from the NFL, Steelers' Cam Sutton suspended first 8 games for violating the personal conduct policy. And this is the report from the National Football League with the title, Steelers' Sutton suspended for first 8 games of 2024 regular season for violating NFL's personal conduct policy, stating the Steelers' Sutton suspended for first 8 games of 2024 regular season for violating blah, 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 blah. Cam Sutton of the Pittsburgh Steelers is suspended without pay for the first 8 games of the 2024 season for violating the personal conduct policy. It was announced today. The NFL investigated the March incident involving Sutton and determined he violated the personal conduct policy. So listen, man, I think that this is perfectly fair. I mean, if you run from police for 3 weeks and, you know, he's still dealing with all the legal stuff that he is, I mean, I think 8 games is more than fair. I'm sure the people that wanted him to be suspended for more than this are going to say it's too little, and I'm sure lots of Steelers fans that wanted to see him after 4 games or whatever they wanted probably say it's too much. So I think that it's a pretty decent happy medium here. Obviously, Cam was not acting with solid mind earlier this offseason, but Mike Tomlin and the Steelers clearly feel like this is a good person that contributes well to the locker room. But I think 8 games, given the decisions that he made, is a perfectly fine consequence. And remember, guys, he was charged with felony aggravated domestic battery on March 20th. Now, those charges have been reduced. It's no longer a felony charge. He's still dealing with the different legal consequences as we speak. He's still trying to figure out his punishment and all this stuff. He's been dealing with counseling, and he's been doing a lot of stuff since this incident back in March. And I think the big thing here with the personal conduct policy is not only the charge, but also running from police for 3 weeks, where he was apparently in the Lions building when he found out there was a warrant for his arrest. He immediately fled from police, and that's obviously not something that you want to see from a player in the National Football League. So here are the 8 games that Sutton's going to be missing, all right? So the first 8 games, and listen, this is an important stretch for the Pittsburgh Steelers because you have that gauntlet at the end of the season where you have all 6 of your divisional games over an 8-week stretch, plus you have to play the Chiefs and the Eagles. So that final 8 weeks is going to be tough, and the Steelers really need to get W's in this portion of the season, and they will be without their starting slot cornerback. And his first game back, because the Steelers have a bye in Week 9, will be in Week 10 against the Washington Commanders at FedEx Field. Okay, so that will be his first game played this year, and he will be with the Steelers for that final stretch of the season. He will be on Hard Knocks when the Steelers are featured on Hard Knocks this year. So that's kind of the situation right now. Now, coming up here on the show, I'm going to let you guys know what happens now. Who is going to be the starting slot corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers as we approach Week 1, and I'll let you guys know what I think at the end of today's show. But before we get into that, let me know if you think that this is a fair suspension for Cam Sutton. 8 games. Let me know, yes or no, for today's pinned comment. Is this suspension fair for Cam Sutton? Simply give me a yes or no when YouTube throws you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. Get down there and let me know, yes or no. So I think that there's 2 options that the Steelers could go, right? First option, you could roll with somebody currently on the roster, ride it out until Cam Sutton comes back in Week 10. Now, you look at the Steelers' cornerback depth chart right now, and I know some people are going to say, Dante Jackson is kind of in the mold of a slot corner. Could he move over to slot and have like Corey Trice Jr. or Darius Rush move up? I mean, that's possible, but Dante has said that the Steelers haven't even talked to him about playing in the slot. They view him as an outside corner next to Joey Porter Jr., who I think we all know is pretty much slated to be that number one outside corner. He's not going anywhere. So out of the options on the roster right now, the three most likely guys are Beanie Bishop Jr., the undrafted free agent who really played well during OTAs this year. He had great ball production this past year at the in West Virginia, his final season in college. Then you brought in Graylin Arnold earlier this offseason, somebody with experience in the slot, and then Josiah Scott, who was getting most of the first-team reps during OTAs. But I honestly think, guys, out of those three options, Beanie Bishop Jr. probably played the best, and I think that he'd probably play the best in training camp as well. But you can't rule out Ryan Watts, who could play in the slot as well. He played safety during OTAs, so he'd have to make a little bit of a switch there to play in the slot. And then Anthony Averett, he's mostly played on the outside, but he's got the skill set to maybe play in the slot, so he might get some reps there as well. But also, watch out for Deshon Elliott. I know the Steelers kind of see him more as, that strong safety, kind of the Terrell Edmunds type role, where he's going to be, kind of that bigger, strong safety linebacker hybrid type. But he's got a lot of experience in the slot, had a lot of snaps playing as the slot cornerback for the Miami Dolphins. So that's an interesting possibility, especially because the Steelers have DeMonte KZ, who could step into that second safety role if they want to address this position in that way. Then another option that the Steelers have is NFL free agency. Okay, we talked about it earlier on the show that we put out earlier, actually just before this news broke, so you guys can check that out to see that. But also, there's probably the best options, honestly, guys, are former Steelers, right? You got guys like Patrick Peterson, who has said publicly he wants to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. He played pretty darn well when he was asked to play in the slot last year, played really good at safety as well. Might be a nice depth piece and somebody that, he knows this defense. He's got experience and chemistry with the guys on this defense, and he wouldn't be asked to play outside corner like he was last year. I think Patrick Peterson might be a pretty decent fit here. And then also Chandon Sullivan, who was the starting slot corner last year, kind of struggled a bit. Honestly, I think the team would probably rather have Patrick Peterson than Chandon Sullivan, but because Sullivan has experience in this specific role, I wouldn't count him out either. Then if you're looking for a slot cornerback in just regular NFL free agency, honestly, guys, there's not a lot of great options with experience in the slot. Bryce Callahan, who didn't even play in 2023, might be the Steelers' best option out on the open market right now. And honestly, Callahan, you look at his career, and he's been pretty good. Now, the last last 3 seasons, he hasn't played at a high level, right? 2023 didn't play at all. 2022 is with the Chargers with a grade of 64.3, and then 2021 is last year in Denver was just a 60.0. But before that, man, I mean, from the stretch of 2020 to about, 2017, he was one of the best slot defenders in the National Football League. Now 3 years removed from that kind of status, but at this time of the year, it's definitely slim pickings. So if they want to go out and get a free agent, it's going to be tough for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let me know down there in the comments section, who should be this team's starting slot cornerback to start the season? Do you think it should be somebody in-house like a Beanie Bishop Jr.? Do you want them to go out and get Patrick Peterson on a cheap contract? Would you rather have Chandon Sullivan? Would you like to get Bryce Callahan? Let me know down there in the comments section who should be the starting Week 1 starting slot corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know your opinion down there in the comments. All right, guys, thank you for stopping by here for today's breaking news edition of Steelers Talk. We actually did put out a video earlier today. I'll probably put that here in the top right corner of today's show so you guys can check that out right now. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We're probably going to be talking more about replacements and what the Steelers plan to do moving forward on tomorrow's edition of Steelers Talk. So make sure you click that subscribe button to never miss any action.